Hey everyone, Jennifer Schaus here. We're coming to you live today from Washington, D.C., and thank you for joining us in our Webinar Wednesday series. As you can see, in 2023, we are covering the top 40 profiles of the major U.S. federal government contractors. The series will run through November 15th, and today we are on contractor number 6, which is Pfizer. And just a couple quick slides that we'll run through before we actually get into our presentation. All of our webinars are complimentary and recorded. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will cost you nothing but 10 seconds of your time by clicking on the link there, you'll be alerted of any new webinars that are posted, including today's recording. If you're looking for the PowerPoint from today, you can hop over to SlideShare, which is also a complimentary site. I think you can log in there with your LinkedIn profile. A little bit about us. We are based in downtown DC and work with established federal government contractors. If you're new to federal contracting, we suggest you work with your local PTAC or Apex, as they're in the process of changing their name. If you're looking for your local PTAC, you can find them on our website under Doing Business With. Other services that we provide are primarily GSA schedule services. You can read what's written here on the slide in front of you. We also put on events, conferences, and other informative sessions throughout the year. We do have an event coming up on March 20th, which is next Monday, and that event is sold out. More about that in just a moment. We've got almost 600 government contracting videos on our YouTube channel, with close to now almost 6,000 subscribers. Our newsletter now exceeds over 25,000 subscribers, most of which are government contractors. So in the event you're a bank, a law firm, payroll company, insurance, or any company that's selling services to federal contractors, we do offer advertising and sponsorship opportunities. And our LinkedIn profile now has over 27,000 followers. Okay, as mentioned, our spring soiree is sold out. Do not call us, do not email us. We are at capacity. Sponsorships are sold out, and all of the attendee tickets are also sold out. We do want to thank our sponsors who will be at the event, some of which are also sponsoring and helping us co-promote our webinar series. We're going to have 8 government entities at our event. Again, no tickets are available on site. Do not call, text, or email or show up to the event. We are at capacity. Okay, so now on to today's webinar, and we want to thank our sponsors. Whoops. First, our friends over at GovEvents. They are the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and our events on govevents.com, as well as recordings from our past 500+ webinars. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at Set Aside Alert. They are the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub-zone, and 8A firms. If you visit setasidealert.com, you'll get more information, and you can subscribe to the newsletter, which is full of really great content. The Fairfax Economic Development Authority has an online calendar of events and webinars, and we want to thank them for posting our events and webinars on their calendar. Okay, GovSpen and FedMine. The contracting data in the webinar series is provided by GovSpen and FedMine. The GovSpen FedMine vision is to be the leading trusted source of data, analytics, and insight for organizations buying and selling in the public sector. The FedMine Federal Solution integrates data from 18 federal data sources and creates a single convenient database that places the key data points at your fingertips. GovSpen began as a spending and purchase order database, specifically within the state local education sector. Today, the database includes contract opportunities within thousands of entities at the federal, state, local, and educational organizations. With the acquisition of FedMine in 2021, the combined platform empowers teams to make smarter decisions. Thank you to GovSpen and FedMine for providing the data in the webinar series this year, and several of the past years they have provided data for us. The Virginia PTAC at George Mason University offers free one-on-one counseling to established government contracting firms in Virginia on federal, state, and local procurement topics. If you're interested in learning more, please use the links provided to explore services, review homework recommendations, register for live training, and find useful links to agencies and other self-directed learning. Online resources and group trainings are free with no restriction on your business location. One-on-one counseling is limited to eligible client companies. So you've got contact information, links, and an email there. Okay, the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce, who is also helping to co-promote our spring soiree at the Kennedy Center, is hosting their annual matchmaking conference on May 4th of this year. You can use the link that is there on the screen in front of you to register for the event. It's a little bit more than a half-a-day event out at Reston, Virginia. It's a great event. I've been to it in the past. Fantastic sessions and great networking opportunities. The Government Contracting Academy is the government contracting industry's leading training provider for small businesses. They offer a comprehensive 25 course, it's 150 plus lessons, training program for government contracting, small businesses, executives, addressing every aspect of leading a small business to success in the industry. The program also includes hundreds of business tools and processes, marketing templates, and sample proposal sections that will accelerate your company's success. The program is 100% actionable and taught by proven government contracting executives. They also have an ISO Quick Cert program, and that'll place your company in the top 1% of your competitors. There's a coupon code you can use to save a couple dollars, and the link there is, when you get the slides, you can click on that link to get to where you need to go. Okay, our friends over BidSpeed. Do you want help winning government contracts? BidSpeed helps and you win. Opportunities from every federal, state, local, public source in the United States. Need to find a teaming partner, incumbent point of contact, expiring contracts, etc. What about a compliance matrix or proposal templates? Want a solution to win with your GSA schedule? Maybe an easier, better way? If you said yes, log in at bidspeed.com. They help you succeed, and they're also an official partner of the SBA's 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program. Get started today at bidspeed.com. And you've got a phone number and an email address as well. Next up, David Powell's Federal Business Council. Events are the ultimate engagement channel to bring government and industry together. 68% of government personnel report that they attend more than one event each year. It's a pretty big number. FBC has worked with government and industry for 45 plus years to create gatherings where ideas are shared and to help government achieve its goals. This includes agency industry days, cybersecurity symposiums, technology expos, and off-site meetings. FBC provides full life cycle meeting planning and event management. With over 5,000 meetings under their belt, FBC has the experience, systems, and personnel to make your next event exceptional. Learn more at fbcinc.com. Okay, and now just a little bit about the series and the schedule, which you can also find on our website. Again, everything's being recorded. You just follow our YouTube channel, which is complimentary to sign up and complimentary to download. You'll get an alert when today's webinar is posted. If you're looking for the slides, you can find them on slideshare.net. That's also complimentary. Okay, this is a look at the schedule. You can find it on our website, which is highlighted at the top under jenniferschaus.com, top 40. Today we're covering Pfizer, and the series goes through November 15th, where we end with another pharma company, GlaxoSmithKline. Okay, we're assuming that most people are small to mid-sized businesses who are attending to get an understanding and overview of subcontracting opportunities with these companies. So we have a piece on that for you. First and foremost, the rules and regulations, so the FAR and the DFARs. FAR Part 44 on subcontracting policies and procedures. This is going to cover flow downs and anything related to subcontracting. So make sure you're well versed in that. That's the link to our kind of down and dirty video on FAR Part 44. If you're looking at the DFARs, which is going to be any of the defense contracts related to subcontracting policies and procedure, same thing, complimentary video on the DFARs. Okay, we also have other webinars on subcontracting. We actually kicked off this series in 2023 with a 6-session webinar. It went about 3 hours, I believe, covering everything from market research to compliance and legal. You've got the link there. Again, if you get to the slides on SlideShare, we'll have those up within about 24 hours. You can click on that link. We've also covered subcontracting opportunities within all of the federal departments. So it's going to give you 15 webinars. And then just over the course of the last, 10 years, we've covered additional webinars on subcontracting, more on tactical aspects and strategies. Okay, a couple of best practices, which should be pretty self-explanatory here. You obviously want to bring something to the table. So what is your value prop, and what do you do and do well? Pick one thing. If you're providing landscaping services, but then maybe you've also got an IT guy, pick one or the other. Do that, do it well, and be known as the best in your business at doing just that. You also want to identify where you are going to be most valuable. So is it that your hourly rates are really low, or that you've got a superior skill set that might warrant a higher price? Do you have a relationship within an agency where an RFP is coming out for recompete, and there's going to be a modification to the statement of work, and that piece that's being added to the statement of work is something that your company does and does well. Number 3, you kind of just want to reverse engineer here and look for the opportunities where you're adding value, and then who are the primes that are in there, and understand where you are complementary to them. So use all of the free databases that are out there, SAM, USA Spending, FPDS, or maybe you're working with one of the data aggregators, either that we mentioned today or the other 100 that are out there available to you, that put all of that free data in a much easier to use platform. I can't say this enough. It really does pay to do your homework and research these companies. Look at, where do they show up in the news? Are they having a good year, a bad year? Is there fraud happening in the company and they're about to be dissolved? Have they gone through mergers, acquisitions? Know as much as you can about them. And there's so much data out there, not just through Google, but again, through the federal websites, which don't cost you anything except your time. You then, once you're ready to start to engage and make contact with your point of contact there, whether it's the program manager or the small business liaison officer, you want to customize your capabilities statement so that it speaks to what it is you do and the actual opportunity. So, and always have an opportunity. Don't just flap your 8.5 by 11 capability statement in front of somebody and say, hey, do you have any opportunities? That is incumbent upon you to do your research, do your homework, and you should be saying, hey, I see there's an RFP coming out in June of 2023 where we are bringing value. So again, do your homework, know where you're going to add value and where you're going to be complementary to the company so that you can have an educated conversation. Once you've got all that information, you've done your homework, then you've got a reason then to register on their website as a small business vendor. Make sure you're signed up for their press releases, newsletters. What events are they going to be at? What associations are they involved in? Are you also involved in those associations? And then you can connect on LinkedIn with the small business liaison officers, the program managers, and anyone else who's instrumental in executing any work that your company is going to pursue. Okay, so today we're looking at Pfizer, well-known household name in the pharmaceutical industry. You should have spent some time on their website if in fact you are pursuing them. You should be reviewing their stock. Obviously it dipped a little in 2020, but we see great gains in 2021 and 2022. Again, this is not something you need to memorize or be an analyst, but you should just be cognizant of the fluctuations and understand why they were there to make yourself more educated about the customer. If you're trying to register on their website to become a supplier, small business, registration link is there. Pretty easy to find. Their profile, because a lot of these companies that we're looking at will have subsidiaries and sister companies, sometimes with the same name. So we wanted to give you the UEI for Pfizer. So this is who we are looking at. They're based out of New York and obviously a for-profit company. Their LinkedIn information, they've got close to 100,000 employees listed there on the company, obviously in the pharmaceutical sector, and as we stated, based in New York. Make sure you're following them as the company then posts any sort of press releases or information, then you can certainly stay abreast of those and you're more educated as you're having conversations. If you're looking for the small business liaison officers, just be careful that you really look at their job title, because some of these, excuse me, are going to be supply sourcing specialists, global procurement. So just make sure that you know kind of who you're pursuing and why, and ensure that that is the right person. If not, then try to get as close as you possibly can. Okay, so we will look at their civilian contracts that they hold directly with the government. So they're prime contracts, and this should be really no surprise what we're going to see. A little bit with the VA, not a lot, but primarily with HHS. And you'll see that the work that they did with CDC dipped in 2021, but in 2022 record highs. And when you look at fiscal year 2023, those are just year-to-date numbers. That's the current fiscal year. So those numbers are obviously incomplete until the fiscal year is over at the end of September. But 2022 was certainly the best year last year for the firm, with a lot of money obviously at CDC. Nothing there for the VA, but and then a little bit with the Office of the Assistant Secretary. And then what we'll see here for defense is really where the big bucks are. Again, last year was their biggest year, with almost 17 billion in contracts, primarily through the Army. Again, you'd have to further investigate those exact contracts to really drill down to find out what it is they are doing. A little bit with DLA, I mean, it's but that has dropped from 2021 to 2022, not significantly, but I think the real focus there is the work that they're doing with the Army. Okay, the top 5 NAICS codes, again, really not a big surprise here when we look at this. Pharma obviously dominates in 2022, and then the biological products in 2021. A little bit on R&D from 2020, and a little bit, I'm sorry, not R&D, pharmaceutical prep in 2020 and 2019. Okay, so when we look at the NAICS codes here, you can see the real bulk was, or I guess the real home run is 2022 with the pharmaceutical prep, and then the biological product in 2021. And this is pretty obvious as to why and what they were doing due to the pandemic. Now we're looking at the contracts with a subcontracting requirement. Sub-K requirements are the contracts that have a value of $750,000 or above. This is the civilian side, so it's going to mirror kind of what we saw on the civilian prime contracts. So a little blip on the radar with the VA, but the bulk of the work with HHS. This all still pales in comparison to the work they do at DoD. So same thing here. We're going to look at the sub-K requirements on the defense side. Army again, and this is really just mirroring what we saw before. 2021 being the real big year with Army work. So again, it would behoove you to further investigate those contracts and kind of drill down to see what it is they're doing there. Now we're looking at what is expiring for Pfizer that is valued at the 750K and above. And this is, if you guys have been following the series this year, when we get to this slide where we're looking at the total sales, obviously we've got some big numbers here, but what's more interesting is the number of transactions. In the past 5 contractors that we looked at, when we see the column for number of transactions and you see a large number that's in the billions, usually the number of transactions was at least double digits, if not triple. So it could have been, 120 contract actions. When we look at this, it's very telling, which just simply means that these are very, very large contracts that are not really, that as the government is ordering, the transactions underneath there are also very large and not really being broken down much. So it would behoove you to copy the contract number, plug it into SAM, and do some further due diligence. Your NAICS codes here on the second to the right column, the 325414 is the pharmaceutical prep, and the 711 is R&D. So that's pretty interesting too. 21 million with only 3 transactions. So again, just continue to look at those actual contract numbers to find out what's behind that. Some subcontracting info. They actually did not. We were not able to pull any actual subcontractors from our searches. So we just pulled some data that's out there just through some simple Google searches, which anybody with a internet connection can do as well. So this is just a copy of one of Pfizer's small business subcontracting plans. If you've never seen one, this is goes back to 2020, which I think has been revised since then, the sub-K plan. But this will let you kind of take a look at what their goals are. This is in their attachment A on one of their contracts. This was, again, just a simple Google search. On their website, they've got their DARPA flow down terms. So for any subcontractors that are going to be working with Pfizer, this kind of goes back to the DFARS, but specifically here for DARPA, the terms and conditions that subcontractors will need to abide by. So you need to be cognizant of that. So again, before you register in their small business database, make sure you know what you're kind of signing up for. And this is just some news that showed up in a Google search that one of their subcontractors mismanaged vaccine trial at multiple Texas sites. There's a link there to the article. So just, again, be aware that sometimes people think that subcontracting limits your risk. In some ways it can. It's going to limit your profits, certainly. It's also going to limit your control. There's a lot of, let's say, pros and cons to going direct versus subcontracting, and you really just have to pick what's best for you. A couple concluding remarks here. Again, as I mentioned, we work with FedMine and the GovSpend team to get the data for this series, and they stated that there were no subcontractors actually listed. So again, you'll have to do some manual searches for that. Obviously, Pfizer's, kind of in that bucket of big pharma. They more or less hit a home run with the pandemic. And the most of their work is obviously running through Army contracts. And most of that 16 billion is, direct through the Army versus about 1.3 billion in civilian. So the 1.3 is still nothing to sneeze about. And if you want to go away from the herd, then maybe you do focus on the civilian work if, in fact, your NAICS codes and your services are complementary and in sync with Pfizer. Obviously, those big contracts and the number of actions are split into very few contracts. So there's really not a lot to really break down, meaning that you can semi-deduct that that pharmaceutical companies are dealing with very specialized skill sets, and very few companies or individuals are able to deliver. So that's kind of big pharma for you. A little piece here on on the Army contract. So that was, this was just a blurb from some COVID times through the Operation Warp Speed, which you guys probably all remember, and the money that they got through BARDA, which is the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, part of HHS and DoD. So it looked like most of the funding really went through DoD, as you saw with the Army contracts. A couple headlines here that are a little bit more current. I think one was actually today. So aside from COVID, they're also, Pfizer's also working on some cancer drugs, and just again some other these are all going to be hyperlinks. So if you want to do some further research, you can, but you should, if they're on your target list, you should already have them in your Google alerts and be receiving these headlines and news articles on a daily, if not hourly basis as things are published. So just be cognizant of that. Even if they're not high on your list, you still should be aware of these things before you sit down to have a conversation with somebody there. Do everything you can to set yourself apart from the other vendors that are there just flapping a capability statement in front of the large business, whether it's Pfizer, Lockheed Martin, or Raytheon, or Northrop, or whoever it is. Make sure you're there for a reason and you can speak intelligently about the company and that you can show that you've done your homework. That's really all that we have for Pfizer, because they didn't have a lot on the contracting piece, and it's kind of self-explanatory. I think the best suggestion we can give you is to take those contract numbers that we had on the previous slide and plug them in and do some sleuthing there, and just look at other contracts that they could be potentially competing for if in fact you do have a service or product that is complementary to the Pfizer suite of solutions. Again, today's webinar is recorded. It's on our YouTube channel. SlideShare will get you the PowerPoint. That should all be up within 24 hours, if not sooner. Next week, we cover McKesson, and again, we'll end on November 15th with another pharma, GlaxoSmithKline. And that's it for today. Again, our spring soiree is sold out. We suggest that you do not call or email us or do not show up to the event. We are at capacity, and unfortunately, we cannot make any exceptions. So thanks for joining us today. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you hopefully next Wednesday. Thank you.